I'm Maria Papadopoulou from TALOS-AII for SSH. This is the afternoon session of this exciting day with doctoral presentations from TALOS and visiting scholars. I'll start with the title of the talk presented by Laura Soffiantini. It's Spatial Analysis for Ancient Texts, an Introduction and Possible Directions. Laura, you have...
Thank you so much. Okay, I think it's working correctly. So thank you so much for Maria for organizing this event together. I'm here at the TALOS Center as a PhD visiting student. My name is Laura Soffiantini. I'm based at KU Leuven, where I'm doing my PhD in the Department of Cultural Studies. Why it's not working? Sorry. We have a problem already. The PowerPoint presentation is not working. I don't know why. I cannot. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So my PhD focuses on Pliny the Elder's natural history, which is basically an encyclopedia in 37 books, written at the beginning, during the 1st century AD. It covers a wide range of topics from art, geography, medicine. So it's a collection. We can imagine the natural history is a collection and a repository of ancient knowledge. What I'm interested in is the representation of Greece in this work. And so, as you can see, my research question is how are Greece and Greek places described, and moreover, which is the meaning of such representation? Why is this interesting? I think multiple reasons. The first one is that we know that Greek culture and Greek science is a reference point for Pliny, both considering the amount of ancient Greek authors and technologies in general mentioned in the natural history. Secondly, the geographical books, so basically from the 2nd to the 6th book of the natural history, are a geographical description of the words. And previous studies underline that geography has a political meaning in the wider Pliny's wider imperialistic worldview. This is true also in the case of the description of Greece, as this scholar I mentioned highlighted. And last but not least, what I'm interested in is to understand how the representation we find that isn't the natural history of Greece can be put or considered in the larger construction of the idea of Greece that we know was developed during the 1st century of the imperial age. We all know about Pausanias' construction of Greece, what's going on, what is Greece in the imperial age, and how authors elaborated it. So in this case, we have a Roman author constructing, so thinking about Greece, and this is what I'm interested in. But broadly speaking, why should we study space in antiquity? I will be focused on Greece, but it can be, I can position it myself in a broader spectrum of studies related on ancient space. Why is it interesting, and what does it mean, and why it's relevant to study this aspect of ancient civilizations to understand them, these civilizations. So as we mentioned this morning, and I'm going to mention Fotini's presentation because there are a lot of points of contact. This kind of research is part of what we call the Spatial Humanities, which is let's say one of the output of the spatial turn that from the end of the from the end of last century, involved different fields in the humanities, in the social sciences and in the humanities. Here in this page of my presentation, I collected some of the main authors who developed the idea of a spatial turn and dedicated their research to the understanding of space. What is space? As we said this morning, from their perspective, space is not something that we find in general as as already there, but it's a social construct. So it's made up by humans. So it models and is modeled by social and power relations. And they emphasize a difference between what space and what place is, with place being a process of sense making for human experience and language. So as you can see, there is a shift from also from, I would say, a philosophical or physical conception of space to what is space filtered by human experience. This had a huge impact on the classics in general. So we can observe a spatial turn in the classics, and I would, let's say, divide this in two main groups. So the first one is the impact on the literary text. So as Fotini highlighted this morning, there was the development of the spatial humanities in terms and how it interacts with literary text and with literature. This is an example of how this impacted on the narratological perspective. So how we can combine space and so a narratological approach. De Jong was one of the first scholars studying space in ancient literature. And as you can see in the other quote from Tellman, what these scholars are interested in is not the geographical aspect, but is considering how space is used in the narrative, because they are dealing with the literary text, and how space can be conceived as something relative, relational, and dynamic. So space as a process. The text I study, so Pliny the Elder, and in general what I'm interested in is not literature. Pliny's is basically a scientific text, and so I'm looking at what I call non-fictional texts. We can discuss about this. Label is just a practical one to distinguish from it's literature and what was conceived to be an historical text, a technical text, in which we can recognize an effort to describe the real world. Of course, place and space is structure the narrative in literature, but there are texts from the ancient world in which we can see this effort to describe the world. And the spatial humanities have obviously they have a lot of studies preceded the spatial humanities. So what is called historical geography, a field that aimed to understand how space was conceived in antiquity, and in the combination with archaeology or geoarchaeology, the effort to reconstruct the ancient landscape and the interaction between groups of people and the environment. What I want to stress here is that what was the contribution of the spatial humanities. So starting from the very beginning, the Lefebvre and other philosophical French philosophers in the 17th, from where all this discussion starts from, which is the contribution of the spatial humanities in our understanding of this more technical text, multiple contributions. This is a very dense, let's say, page. What I want to emphasize is that during this state-of-the-art construction, during my PhD, I tried to recognize, so 4, let's say, main subfields, so in which so different scholars and different kind of research can be collocated. The first one, which can be linked to this French historian who's called Claude Nicollet, recognize that space has a political meaning. So space is a dynamic field imbued with power relations. It is analyzed in its discursive form in relation to power and society. This is something similar to what we said at the beginning. It was applied. So what I summarize is here our conclusion based on the analysis of ancient non-fictional texts. So for instance, Nicolet emphasized this, and there are a lot of scholars who try to reconstruct this aspect of space. The second one is space as a system of knowledge. This is one of the output of the, I would say it lasted almost 10 years, the TOPOI research project based in Berlin, maybe more, I cannot remember, 10 or 20 years, cannot remember it. It was a huge project who tried to reconstruct space in ancient civilizations, and they were interested in analyze how space is combined with knowledge. So they stated that space is a system of knowledge elaborated and shared by human groups. It consists of spatial notions and perception, and through this knowledge, space is experienced and understood. And secondly, since we cannot interact with ancient Greek people and ancient Roman people, unfortunately, what we have are texts. I want to emphasize that archaeology studies on other kinds of materials from antiquity are crucial to reconstruct the ancient notion of space. What I work on are texts, so how we can reconstruct knowledge about space from the text. And this is what also this kind of approach stressed out. The third one, which was elaborated more recently by Chiara Palladino, a scholar I'm going to mention also later on, and Elton Barker, is that space is a network. So in this conception, so space is fluid and unstable. So you can see again the fact that it's emphasized that space is like a sort of it's like in its discursive form, so like something we construct every moment. It's not something stable but unstable, made up by the perceived and lived connections existing between the element, the entities in it. So ancient texts, moreover, describe space in a way that prioritize the narrative and the experiential elements over objective and mapped forms. This is linked to the fact that when we study evidence from antiquity, we find we have some maps. We don't have so many maps, which is quite striking for us in our perspective. We conceive space basically through our Google Maps applications. So so scholars basically divided pre-modern societies, the Cartesian revolution, in which you conceive space as a diagrammatic representation. And what these scholars emphasize is that we have a lot of texts from antiquity in which space is described through language. So not through images, maps, diagrammatic representations, but through ancient Greek and Latin. And the fourth one, which is not an approach that I will focus on in my PhD, but I think it's interesting and it's relevant, it's worth mentioning, is that there is this field which is called deep mapping. So as I mentioned before, place is a process of sense making, and there are ongoing research on how ancient places were made through the multiple layering of social, emotional, and historical meaning across time and memory. Here is, I would say, the starting point of my research in the sense that how I started thinking about the methodology I want to use to study Pliny's text. This is one of Chiara Palladino's contribution to the spatial humanities. She published a lot during the last 10 years, I would say. And she didn't initiate it, but she put a lot of effort in the theoretical, let's say, development of this field applied to digital geography or digital spatial humanities. The title of this page is Semantic Annotation and Digital Mapping of Ancient Spatial Narratives. It summarized the approach that Chiara adopted and suggested to adopt. So a semantic annotation of the text, the digital mapping, so the use of GIS technologies of ancient spatial narratives, which is meaningful in the sense that recent scholars emphasize that also this kind of non-fictional text have a narrative, in the sense they want to describe something, so they're not just treatises or like very mathematical text. When we look at them, they have a narrative in how places are related to each other. So they are descriptive in a certain sense. It's not just like Ptolemy's geography, in which we have coordinates. Texts before Ptolemy's are narratives, in the sense, are text we can read. So this paper from 2021 summarized Chiara Palladino's research, and she says, as I state, that this kind of text has three key features: spatial entities, concepts, and relations, which I can imagine sounds very familiar to people working with ontologies. So spatial entities are places, but of course, when we look at the text, we see that there is much more, and that only named entity, so only named places are not enough. The ways in which language is anchored to a place is much more complex. So we have not only location, but dates and common nouns. The second one are spatial concepts or categories. This includes, for instance, the category of island, sea, and landmark, boundaries. We can continue. And as Palladino highlighted, these concepts are culture specific and shared by the community. And the last one are the relations. So, from her perspective, relations include basically distance, orientations, and extent. And also this kind of relations, let's say, are culture specific in the sense that, for instance, she mentioned that in ancient times, distance could be expressed using expressions of, so distance was expressed using expressions of time. In general, what I want to emphasize here is that this state, let's say, of the art she presented in the paper is relevant to understand that the only digital mapping, so the only localization and the geoparsing of text is part of the process, is the very beginning of the process, but the semantic annotation is definitely a part for the understanding of these texts. This is, let's say, these are conclusions which are shared by scholars working with different types of spatial texts. A crucial paper was published by Morietta Flores, if I pronounce it correctly. She studied, in that case, there were maps from Columbia, so from pre-Columbian time, so from different settings, but she emphasized that GIS is not enough. We have other kinds of meanings in this kind of, let's say, evidence. And so there is a lot of contribution saying that semantic web and semantic annotation has definitely to be combined with GIS. But starting from, so the spatial entities, when I started annotating my text, I realized that there are a lot of projects going on who are trying to georeferencing places mentioned in ancient texts. To do this, we need, we need also manual annotation to start with. There are indeed name entity recognition models, as we have seen this morning. There are ongoing projects on name entity recognition models for ancient Greek and Latin, for instance, the Ugarit model by Chiara Palladino. What we also need are gazetteers, digital gazetteers, which are basically authoritative lists with the name of the place, coordinates, descriptions, and so on. And here I mentioned Pleiades, which is a very well-known digital gazetteer for the ancient world, Trismegistos, which is the gazetteer I'm using since it's based in Leuven. And then there are a lot of projects going on out there. So the Cogito is a platform which integrates name entity recognition, so the way to automatize this process. And in general, it's used to semantically annotate ancient text. TALOS text is a repository of ancient text in translation. And so the focus of this TALOS text project is to annotate places. So it was very similar to mine. The digital pergesis is aims at annotating Pausanias text. The Estia were focused on the histories of Herodotus. I mentioned, all this project to let you know that there is a lot going on, and we have a lot of resources which have been developing to perform this step. So the identification of places in the text, and which is the name entity recognition basically, and the name entity link. So this was the very first step, and later on I'm going to show you how I did it. As for the spatial concepts, so here I collected some books which works on spatial concepts in antiquity. This is to show you that there has been a lot of research to reconstruct some of the most relevant spatial concepts in antiquity. The inventory is nowadays a reference book. What they try to do is to collect all the evidence of ancient polis to understand what a polis is not a trivial question at all. But when we look at the text, we find that spatial concepts, so the definition are not trivial at all, in the sense that, for instance, if we take the term for islands in antiquity, the concepts combine both what we have in mind when we think about an island, but also something different. So, for instance, it is indeed a land mass surrounded by the sea, but also land emerging from a river. We have attestation in ancient Egypt, and also structures collected in which people are housed. So, as you can see, and it is still in the language. We think about the Italian isolato, it's still related to that, so we can reconstruct the final, let's say, stage of this meaning. But what I want to emphasize here is that even though there is a lot of research from a historical perspective, that is what I'm interested in this kind of topic, we still do not have, let's say, a standardized onto terminology, but not even list of words. And so the gazetteers, which I mentioned above, do not contain standardized definitions of what these spatial concepts are. So Pleiades, for instance, which is definitely the reference gazetteer, do not have definitions of what an island, what the sea is, and what they have in the website is just connection to this linked open data from the getting vocabularies, which is okay, but there are a lot of limitations in it because, as I show you, the concepts have overlapping with, I mean, nowadays definition, but there are they can have slightly different semantic. So talking about the relations, so the third type of spatial features Chiara Paladinos mentioned in her paper, it's even more complicated in the sense that the project working on ancient texts and doing this kind of semantic annotations developed very project annotation systems. And so we do not have a shared vocabulary, a shared workflow. And so it's very difficult to make the different projects interoperable and in some cases also reuse the data. So as for, for instance, Palladino focus on spatial relations conceived as distance and direction with a focus on the linguistic constructs. So she's interested in texts in which there is a lot of indications about distance between places. On the other hand, Berker, who focused on the Hestia project, so on Herodotus' histories and Pausanias, consider a larger spectrum of relations between places. So I summarized the 4 categories they used. So the static positioning, the movement. So imagine a textual passage from Herodotus in which a person moves from place A to place B. This is annotated as a movement. Transformative without movement, for instance, a place A in alliance with place B, and mobile interversion. So place A invades place B. They are replying this schema to the new project. So the second paper I mentioned here is related to the annotation of Pausania. They are using this scheme. So this is a picture, so a diagram taken from Chiara's, one of Chiara's publications. So as you can see, there is an attempt to formalize the expression of distance and orientation. You can see that there is a subject, object and relation scheme. And she attempted to offer a general introduction. But I have to say that up to now, and as far as I know, the scheme is not out. We only have this, let's say, a PDF version of it, and it was tested on just one text. This is one of the output of Barker's project. So the 2 projects I mentioned. So there is, in that case, they use a manual annotation. There is a focus on the relation between people and places involving the idea of movement. And the third point, the 2 entities are linked by the expression of a relationship, which is usually communicated by a verbal form, which is quite relevant because they are annotating verbs and they categorized. So basically they did this way. So they annotated all the places. When 2 places are in the same sentence, they look at the sentence and then they annotate the verb according to the 4 category schema they had. This is what they are doing still for Pausania. And this is an example of the kind of network analysis or network representation you can get. This is taken from so one of the Hestia's contribution. It shows the first category, so the very, let's say, spatial one, when a spatial relation in terms of distance or closeness is expressed. So this is one of, I mean, the kind of visualizations you can get annotating your text in this way. But what I've been studying recently is an ontology. which is the third point here. So the basically the only ontology I found is this GLAT ontology, which is quite recent, let's say, part of a recent project. I've been studying it the last days here with the help of the TALOS group and the TALOS people who explain me what to look, how to interpret, and just from the very beginning how to open a file containing an ontology. I knew nothing about it, so everything I know I discovered here. So I have been investigated how they structure the ontology and how they defined concepts. What I find interesting in that is that they define several spatial concepts and relations according to OGC GEOS ontology. So they imported basically definitions and relations. So they have a first ontological, so first ontology, which defines this kind of concepts. And it's evident that they are relying upon a GIS ontology with a focus on geometry, as they define spatial entities and so on in very geometrical terms. So I would say that this is definitely a good contribution, and I think that this can be integrated with Chiara Palladino's kind of research, so focus on distance orientation and this kind of stuff. The second one, which is I understand during my stay here is very important, is that they introduced the event concept, which can be, I mean, let's say compared, or at least we can appreciate how different it is from Barker's annotation scheme. I think that this kind of formalization can be very relevant in the sense that while the second point, so the second project basically just look at the verb and try to reconstruct the semantic. Here, it's obviously more structured, and I think it definitely structure the annotation and make it more feasible to describe these stacks. The problem is that so the ontology was never tested on corpora. I know that a new project by Alice Borgna from I think the University of Piemonte Orientale is going to be launched using this ontology to annotate Latin literature. So while we have some kind of annotated spatial text and we have an ontology, there is not the standardized workflow, and the two are not interconnected. So what I've done, I don't know how much time I have.
You have until 4 because you were running late.
Okay, until 4. Okay. So this is an example of what kind of the text I'm working on. This is a passage taken from the 4th book of the Natural History. It's a description of Crete. For sure, Crete is mentioned in Pliny's description of the word. I highlighted the places. So the first type of data we want to collect. And this is how I perform this step of my research. So since when I started, there were not name entity recognition systems. I hope the QR code works. I'm not sure I didn't test it should work. Okay, so since there were not systems to, well, there were systems, but they were not good at retrieving the places. I opted to perform name entity recognition on the English translation. First, because name entity recognition system, or English performs perfectly, basically. I opted for FLAIR, which is, I found a very good system for the annotation. Secondly, because I think that we should use translations more. We do all agree that using the original text is crucial as classicists, historians, and philologists, but we have an advantage which other languages do not have. So we have translation, we all as a scientific community agreed upon. So other kind of text from, I don't know, other periods do not have so much translated text in modern language. And I think it's a huge resource to, at least to start with, as Fotini underlines, is some cases, these systems can just help and just do, I don't know, 3/4 of the work, which has to be validated and is fine, but it helped a lot. So I started from the English text, annotated it, and then I proceed in this way. I split the text of the entire natural history, so the 37 books, in sentences, and I did the same for the Latin version. And then I used a model to align sentence by sentence the English translation and the Latin. And the system was able to align also sentences, not one by one, but 1 to 2, in the case in which the translation was not like literal, but it was split in two, because as we were saying during the lunch, English has constraints which cannot be, let's say, just do not always align with the Latin, the French, and so on. So the model was able to do this. And then at the end, it's called transfer of the annotation, in the sense that I asked this algorithm model to align token by token. So to find, starting from the English, to find the equivalent in Latin. And I asked the model if the token in English was annotated by FLAIR, project the annotation also on the Latin equivalent token. And this is how it worked. On the GitHub repo, you find the code I used to do this. And additionally, I started from the TOPOS text version, which I mentioned before, because the text is already annotated. So the tokens already have some linking to Pleiades. This was helpful because in this way, I was able not only to do the name entity recognition, but also partially the name entity linking. So basically, I took what I found in the English translation, all the annotations, and projected it to the Latin text. The name entity linking, it's so the linking to the Pleiades. This is an example. I do think that the name entity linking need to be validated. I'm validating the places I found in book 4. Another person from the Trismegistus project is validating all the toponyms in the natural history, especially for Pliny. We know that there is, you really have to look at the text. Pliny, in some cases, misinterpreted the sources. There are places which do not have any reference in the past. Also, the philological reconstruction in the text is very problematic in some passages. So it's something that, to be reliable, need to be validated by scholars with expertise in this field. But secondly, so not only the places, but also the concepts. So to have an idea, the common nouns used to define what a place is. So urbs, pelagos, promontorium are kind of spatial concepts, as we saw what a polis is, but also other indications of orientation. So, for instance, ortus, which is used to orientate the reader in the text, and it is so point 6, the direction corresponding to the eastward. And finally, other concepts that can be found in the text are also, for instance, distance, latitudo, longitudo, circuitus, are terms which have a meaning, which is crucial to describe space. And as I mentioned before, we do not have standardized definition, not for polis, Pelagus, and so on, not even for these keywords in geographical texts. So what I'm doing right now, focusing on book 4, mainland Greece and the islands. So what I'm looking at is what places are mentioned, which place types and spatial concepts are significantly used to describe Greece. Why this is interesting, because what Greece is described by Pliny is not straightforward, in the sense that we find in the text places from the past, places which are contemporary to Pliny, and there is not an agreement. So as you can see, Vialoget said the Greece that appears is celle du présent, so Roman 1st century, while the Zechnacher, the person in charge of the commentary of Pliny the Elder for Belles Lettres, says not at all. The mention of elements of contemporary political geography is rare. So opposite position from two, contemporary comments on the text. It's interesting for me, and I think it's something that is relevant to the interpretation of the text, is that it emerges that there is a coexistence of multiple timelines in the same space. So names of disappeared places, along with Roman colonia, the use of the Homeric catalog of ships, which is a reference point for Pliny used. We're not sure whether the Homeric text or some commentaries to it to mention ancient places. And so it's interesting for me, and I think it's relevant to underline that in Pliny's description of Greece, we find multiple, so as I call it, multiple timelines in the same area. So this helps us to understand that there is a link between place and memory. This is one of the line of research I'd like to focus on in the next years. And to understand this, I want to analyze in relation to what places are mentioned. So for instance, historical events, myth, historical characters. There are not so many events mentioned in book 4, which is just a very small amount of all the attestation of place names, but I started from that. And then, yeah, so this is a short bibliography of what I presented today.
It's Litao Lin's time to present on the spatial aggregation of event information in biographical records of the Book of Han. So you're not going to see the world, the arc side of the world now. We're going to be discussing geographical concepts of what to us Westerners, European-centered geo-humanities scholars considered the Far East. So Litao?
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Litao Lin. I'm from China. I'm a visiting PhD student from Nanjing University, and I major in information science, library and information science. My objective is to reorganize the Asian texts to facilitate the humanities researchers to do their research. And my work is more like do some knowledge organization, but not dive into the humanity problems. And this, what I'm going to present today is the exploratory work of my research topic, which is spatial aggregation of event information in historical documents. And this is more like a technical research instead of theoretical research. And I do this research in corpus of ancient China, which the name is Book of Han, which was written in 2,000 years ago. Okay, and I will give us a brief introduction about my research question and the background, which is many humanity issues such as the social change, cultural exchange, and such events are all related with time and space. We should consider these humanity research questions in the scope of time, temporal, and spatial. And if we connect all the ancient texts with the dimension of time and space, we may find something more about we may find something more apart from just reading the natural language document. And as we all know, place is not only a coordinate. When we mention place, it is more like it's not only a dot on the surface of Earth. It's more like something with connection with society, with social event, and people are has a feeling with the place name, with the place. So we should consider the place with event, with social events. And the current research, they didn't connect the ancient books in the temporal and the spatial dimension. And some research tried to extract the place name in ancient texts, but they didn't link the place name to the database. If we only have the place, but as we all know, place name, many different places may share the same place name, and one place name may succeed one another in the long history. So it's very necessary to link place name to an extra database. So this exploratory research is try to utilize some geographic database and try to develop a framework to extract the place name and event in Asian texts and link them to the database. Okay, and I will give us a brief introduction about my corpus. It is a very traditional and official corpus, and this document are written by the official members of every empire, and this is a series of books, and it consists of 24 books, and each book have a very similar structure with the old Pliny. And here I show you one of the books, one of the bibliography of this series of books. And in the first two pictures, there are the biography texts. Each book have different chapters. And for example, the chapters about celebrities, about empire, about geography, or about medicine, or about medicine or ceremonies. So, and here I show you the bibliography about biography and geography. Here in the first picture, this is the paragraph, or we can see the chapter about the empire in every dynasty. And the second picture shows the bibliography of the title of the stories about the celebrity in every dynasty. And the second picture shows the bibliography about the the geography text and the medicine text and the ceremony text. And the two items that I circled is about geography. And the content in such texts are all connected, which means the place name in the geography text, they are all mentioned in the biography text, so they are all connected. So if we do some text mining work in the geography text, we may provide some spatial and temporal information background to the events that narrated in the biography text. And here I managed to find a solution of how to extract and utilize the place name in Asian text. And here I want to introduce you a data set which was developed by Harvard University and Fotini University. It is a chronological data set, and it stored all the ancient place names among the entire Chinese history. And this data set consists with two parts. And one of the part is dot data, and the information about the countries, about the countries. And the other part of the data is shape data, dot and shape. And the shape is the information about the prefecture. And as we all know, prefecture contains many countries inside. They are in a hierarchy system. And how can we utilize this data? Here I would like to introduce the software, which is QGIS. And by importing this kind of data into QGIS, and we can visualize the data in different time. And as I mentioned before, this is the chronological data, and we can display the digital map of different dynasty, and we can also project the country dot and the shape files information in this digital map, and we can see the difference, how the place names evolve through the entire history. And here I did experimental research on the dynasty of Han, which was the time of dynasty Han is about 200 years after century. And the first step of my work is to acquisite the place name at that time. So in order to do this, I narrowed the scope of the data set and do some filter about the data and export them. So by this means, I can get the data. I can get all the place name in that time, and they are displayed in this Excel table. And here I would like to give a brief introduction about the information on this table. And in the first column is the pronunciation in Chinese alphabet, and the second column is the ancient place name in simplified Chinese, and the second column is in traditional Chinese, and the next is the X coordinate and the Y coordinate of the place name, and the next column is the modern location of that ancient place name. So this kind of data contains many useful informations, and we can utilize this the first three columns to extract the place name in Asian text and link them to this table. As I mentioned before, humanity issues always narrowed in the unit of events. And when we talk about place, it is more like something connected. It's not something that only for a point on the surface of Earth. It's more than a point on the surface of Earth. It's always connected with social activities. So we need to analyze and analyze the place name in the scope of event. So in this part, I managed to find out a solution to detect and extract the paragraph that narrow an entire event in the Asian text. And the event texts are extracted from the biography text, which narrowed the event that concerned with specific people. So here I download all the Chinese Asian text from a website called CText, and this website is also built with many universities, both Harvard universities and some Chinese universities like Peking universities. And the Asian Chinese text on that website is kind of official and reliable. So the picture in this PowerPoint, it shows the hierarchy or the categories of the event type, and it has 9 basic types, and they are also divided into 60 7 sub-events. And this is the basis that I followed to extract the event sentence in my corpus. This event schema was not developed by myself. I just used it. It was developed by another Chinese university, which is also focused on the data mining of Asian texts. And the second step is how to extract the sentences that concern events in Asian text. And here I used the model called, of BERT. And the BERT model is combined with bidirectional long short-term memory, yes, and conditional random field. Thank you.
I cannot pronounce the Chinese names. So.
And also, I used a pre-trained model. This pre-trained model is called Guji BERT, which is developed by my master supervisor. It is a pre-trained model with which was trained on a large amount of Asian Chinese texts. So it will have better performance on the data mining of Asian Chinese texts. And the principle or how it works to extract event text is to do a sequence labeling by detecting the verb in a sentence. A verb in a sentence will mark the occurrence of event information, because an event means something changed, and if there's a verb, it means there's something changed. Event is like a movement. So if there's a verb, it means there's a movement, and we can think there is also an event. And by using the sequence labeling technique, we can detect the verb which is also the event trigger in each sentence, and allocate them with event type. Sorry. And the next step is to detect the place name in each event sentence. And if we want to do some further analysis, we should not only extract the place name in each sentence. We should also mark the index of the place name in each sentence, because in each event sentence, it may have more than one place name. And if we want to analyze, we must know the place where the place name occur in each sentence. And my corpus consists of biography and both geography. And the geography text inside, it narrates the Asian place name in Chinese history. And it was also, and the place name in geography text was also mentioned in biography. So we can use the place name in geography text as a dictionary to extract the place name in biography. It may sound a little complex. Okay, there is a difference about Chinese character and English characters, which is there's no natural space or separation between each word in Chinese sentence. So the first thing we need to do for Chinese text is to do the word tagging. Word separation, word sagging. Segmentation, yes. We need to detect the boundary of Chinese word. And then we can extract the place name more accurate. And by doing so, I utilize the technique of part of speech tagging, which will also give the boundary, detect the boundary of Chinese word and give them the part of speech tag of each word. And this part of speech tag was also trained on Asian Chinese corpus, and it will give a tag with the meaning of place name to the word in a sentence. But it is not accurate enough. We just have the part of speech tag and the word boundary. And the next step is to extract the place name in event sentence. And by doing so, I firstly extract all the place name in geography text. And I did apply the method of regular expression, not regular expression, but the dictionary matching method, and to extract to identify what words was mentioned in geography text. And then we can extract all the place name in an event sentence and the corresponding index in that sentence. And here is an example of the processed result. It was stored in JSON format. And the first item is place name in this sentence. And the second item is the event type of this sentence. And the second item is the trigger word of this event. And the next step is to do the named entity linking, which means to link the place name to the external database, and then we can acquire its corresponding coordinate, and we can visualize it. It will help us to disambiguate and visualize it on digital map. And here I developed a procedure to achieve this goal. And it was both combined with deep learning and machine learning, not machine learning. The first step is to calculate the similarity, semantic similarity based on deep learning models, the similarity between the original place name in raw text and the official place name in the database to calculate their semantic similarity. And we will get a list of place name which may be related. And the second step is narrow the place names to identify the unique place name, which is corresponding to the items in the database. And in this part, I calculate the similarity of I calculate the similarity of
say it in Chinese.
Yeah.
Sorry,编辑距离 editor distance, editing distance. And then we can know we can get the unique place name, which is corresponding to the items in the data set. And through the entire procedure, we can get more than 10,000 event sentence, and I identified 10 of them. One of 10 of them. It's about 1,000 sentences with the identified place name inside. And the last part, I will show you the potential contribution of this entire framework, which is it will increase the recall rate of the information retrieval, because many different places, different place name may share the same coordinate, and by linking them to the database, we can disambiguate their location. And in my case, I just calculate how much the recall rate will increase by disambiguate the coordinate. And through the experiment, we can find that it is 1.23 times than original. And then I did some visualization, and I projected the event sentence to the corresponding digital map. And this was accomplished by the software of QGIS. And as you can see in this picture, there are many red dots in the digital map, and each dot represents a place where there was some event happened in history. And I labeled the sentence which narrowed that event in this red dot on the digital map. As you can see, some red dots may annotate it with more than one same sentence. It means there's more than one event happened in history in that place, and in this sentence, it narrowed more than one event. And by doing this, we can offer the readers more implicit ways to dive into the history knowledge. They can read the history more clear with this method. And here I just show the potential of my framework, which is we can offer the humanities researchers a more implicit way to know how many events and what type of events happen in Chinese history in different prefectures. And I draw this picture with the data that was extracted from the event detection. Different colors means different types of event, and I draw them in the form of a pie chart. And as you can see in the previous picture, the event information was projected in the dot unit in the unit of country. But here I just summarized them in the unit of prefecture. And the red color represents the number of the events that happened in each prefecture. And more deeper the red, it means more events happen in this area. And here I want to summarize the contribution of my work, which is I just give a solution of how to use the geography data and how to extract the place name in Asian text and link them to the database automatically. What I did not do is to evaluate the accuracy of my method. And this is a more technical problem, and I will dive into this problem later. What is important is the entire framework of utilize the result or the contribution of other discipline. And the next step of my work will be extract the time expression in Asian text. And by combining the time expression with the place name, we can furtherly narrow improve the accuracy of the named entity linking. And as we all know, place name named entity linking, especially including the place name named entity linking, is very time consuming, and in many occasions we do this manually. And during my research, I found some really interesting and important resource that may help this procedure, which is World History Gazetteer, World History Center, and they has scientific contribution, which is they build a website, which is World History Gazetteer, and they combined the place name information from Wikipedia and the GEO names together. And the function of this platform is to semi-automatically reference the resolution of historical place name. And here is a screenshot of their platform. They already have many place name in the scope of the entire world included in their platform. And we can extract by using named entity recognition to recognize, to identify the place name in our own corpus. And we can upload our own gazetteer into their platform. And this platform will firstly automatically do the reference resolution. They will match our uploaded place name to their database and give the coordinate of the place name, including the coordinate and this history name throughout the entire history. And the place name will display in many languages. If they match more than one place name of our own corpus, they will give you the choice to label the correct location on their map. So I think this will be very helpful for us who are doing research with place name. And the data set of their platform are also organized with ontology. For example, the simple knowledge organizing system was used to describe the relation between each different place name of the same place. And here is all my presentation, and thank you.